and then this could be again in written form or orally. So that's the how English works, and this is the time, this designated ELD block, when you're teaching explicitly about how English works. So what does that look like in the actual context of your classroom and its actual practice? So as you know, we've developed these units of study around science or social science content, and we have provided some information to support your work and the development of these units. What we ask is, because these are aligned throughout the district, we ask that you keep the big idea, those essential questions, the science and the social science standards. So those stay the same in any of these units of study. Right? You can modify the lessons in some way, but what we ask you to do is keep those particular essential components, as well as the summative assessment that you're going to get to. Okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do is take out, and I sent this to you via email, but I want you to take out this document, and it's a guide for how to develop your designated ELD and through a monthly perspective. So we're going to look at this particular template. So you should have in front of you this particular template. It's a guide for monthly designated ELD. So I'm going to have you pause, make sure you have that in front of you, because you're going to need that throughout the rest of the time here. So then what I want you to do is go to your particular unit of study, whichever one that is that you're working on right now. And if you happen to be using your science materials, perfect. Take those out, because in fact that has even more detail than what we've given you here in our units that we've developed. So either one, you can have this in front of you, or you can take your FOSS science kit, the teacher's manual, out, right? But you're going to look for, what's the overview, what is exactly that you're studying, what's the big idea? So for your modules, for your FOSS kit, or in your unit of study, what's the big idea that you're getting to? What are the essential questions? Find those. And you can always stop along the way if you need to stop this recording so that you can find those and discuss this within your group. But you start with, what's the big idea? What are the essential questions? So when we've written them, we have a section of your unit that says big idea. What's your enduring understanding? So they're listed here. So find that section. Okay, those are central, because that means everything that you're doing in your unit is related to that big idea. And then we have some essential questions that students at the end would be able to answer, right? So they help promote that inquiry, help students to come to like an excitement about what your unit is about. And then definitely these are the questions that, regardless of anything else, we want them to be able to understand and be able to articulate a response to these particular essential questions. Right? So we've also listed for you the connection to those ELA, ELD standards, and I guess again it's in that unit alignment. They should match directly, but find those on your area. And then finally we've listed for you what are the essential basic facts that students need, and what are they going to learn in this unit, and what are they going to be skilled at. So this is what they'll be able to know: how first people may have arrived in America, how geography and climate influenced the way Native Americans lived and adapted to their environment, the varied customs and traditions of Native Americans. But then in addition, we're saying, so how are they going to show us this? This is what we want them to know. How are they going to show us? They're going to show us by being able to read and analyze maps, by comparing and contrasting the lives of long ago and today, by using technology tools for storyboarding or story publishing. So they're going to show us what they know using these particular skills. And then each of the units, as well as probably I'm sure in your science, you have a summative task. It's a performance task, and for us that's typically around the area of writing. So in the science units, probably more informative writing. Here is a narrative writing, because it's our social science text on the ELD. So again, I want you to take a moment, stop the video, find what the summative assessment is, and make sure that you know at the end of the unit what students are going to be required to do. So you can take the time to find that. Then once you've found that, okay, so you know where we're going to get to, go ahead and take a look at the sequence of lessons that are provided. And again, these are always just a guide. If you have other ways to get students to arrive to that same performance assessment at the end, great. I'm sure you have many, many ideas. These are a starting point. Definitely make use of them. If you have other ideas, please add to it. And you can always share those ideas. We always love those. What we did in ours was anything that we knew would be part of, could be considered that integrated ELD time, we highlighted that in blue, right? So that's just something to consider. So we've highlighted in blue that part that's your integrated ELD time. And we're showing you this first because your designated ELD time is directly linked to this unit of study, right? So we're using the same unit of study that we're teaching during that literature literacy block, right? Your content literacy block for students to practice and implement those foundational skills. And we're taking that same unit of study, so there are direct connections for the students during that designated ELD block. So again, during that literacy block, the focus really is about the content, right, of science or social science. And that's the vehicle for students to read, write, listen, and speak, comprehend, develop language. But for designated ELD time, even though we're using this science unit, during designated ELD time, the focus is on how English works, right? So we're going to help you make the connection so you can design lessons for during that time for how English works during your designated ELD time. Okay, so first find your lesson sequence so you know exactly the order or the recommendation to how to get students to the end. And we're going to take that information that you've just found, so that was an overview, so we can prepare lessons for your designated ELD block. Okay, so here are the steps. I've sent this out on a separate page also, so you can have the page in front of you. But for the next part, I'm going to just show you how to do this. We introduced this last year, and it was requested that we share this again to further develop our understanding of how to develop lessons for ELD. So the first thing you want to do is fill out those components you already know. So again, during your designated ELD, you're going to use the content from your unit integration block. So again, the content area was social science, and this grade level was our region and early communities, and that enduring understanding, I showed you where to find that, was past and present interactions have shaped the local community and its heritage. So go ahead and find that for you, and then go ahead and write that in. Find your summative performance assessment. Again, we pointed that out, so you're going to go ahead and write that in. So in this case, we want our students to imagine that they're an Ohlone child. They're going to write a short story describing a typical day of the life in the Ohlone tribal region. So go ahead and find yours. You could pause this so you can find yours and go ahead and write it in. So these are the helps guide you. So then we want to go back to, so again, at any time, stop, pause, talk that out with your group that you're with, so you make sure you understand. So again, I want you to go to the part where it lists what are the knowledge and skills students will need to know and what they'll be skilled at. And what we're really going to be looking for during that designated ELD block is what are they going to be skilled at? Because these are the main skills or thinking skills, right? That's going to allow our students to show us what they've learned. So how are they going to show us? And this section here actually becomes the focus of what we're doing during designated ELD time, because we're looking at this and deciding what are the language skills that the students are going to need to be able to compare and contrast lives of long ago and today. This is the main skill. So that I know during that designated ELD block for that whole month that I'm doing this unit, or for however many weeks, this is what I'm really getting to, because this connects directly to that summative performance task. So I know my work is going to be during that designated ELD to help students compare and contrast the lives of long ago and today, because that's the main task. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and write that in again, so just so you know. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is how are we going to get students throughout the month, however many weeks your unit is, to go from each week to get them to actually do this performance assessment. So I'm going to write a short story describing a typical day of life in the Luni tribal region. So how am I going to get students there? And each week is building their expertise or their skills to be able to complete this performance assessment. So even though they're going to do that performance assessment during that integrated block of time, during designated ELD, what you need to do as teachers is to provide them each week with those skills to be able